All praise is due to Allah, the most merciful, the most wise. We thank Him for allowing us to witness another morning, another opportunity to return to Him, and another chance to improve ourselves. My dear brothers and sisters, Fajr is not just a prayer. Fajr is a statement. It is a declaration that Allah comes before sleep, before comfort, before excuses. And when Allah sees that sincerity, He places blessings in ways we cannot imagine. So let us talk today in an educational and practical way about 9 powerful things we should try to do right after Fajr and how they can change our lives. Sit for a few moments of zikr, do not rush away. Immediately, sit calmly and remember Allah Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. This short remembrance brings peace to the heart and protects you from anxiety. A heart that remembers Allah early will not be easily shaken later in the day. Make sincere dua. The early morning is a blessed time. Raise your hands and speak to Allah honestly. Ask for guidance, forgiveness, success, protection, and strength. Allah loves those who ask, not those who rely only on themselves. Recite or reflect on the Quran, even if it is just a few verses. Make the Quran the first voice you listen to in the day. The Quran does not only reward you, it educates your soul, corrects your thinking, and softens your character. Seek forgiveness. Say astaghfirullah with presence of heart. Istighfar removes obstacles, attracts provision, and cleans the heart. A clean heart makes better decisions throughout the day. Make an intention for the day. Pause and intend that your work, study, family responsibilities, and efforts will be for the pleasure of Allah. With intention, ordinary actions become acts of worship. Plan your day with discipline. Islam encourages organization. Think about your priorities, your obligations, and your time. A Muslim is not chaotic. A Muslim is purposeful and responsible. Engage in light physical movement. A short walk, stretching, or light exercise awakens the body. A strong body supports worship, work, and service to others. Health itself is a blessing. Avoid immediate distractions. Do not let social media or negativity be the first thing you consume. Protect your heart in the morning, and Allah will protect your focus during the day. Maintain a positive attitude and trust in Allah. Smile. Be hopeful. Trust that Allah is in control. A believer starts the day knowing that whatever happens, Allah's plan is better. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, blessings do not always come as money or ease. Sometimes blessings come as peace, clarity, patience, and strength. If you honor Allah after Fajr, Allah will honor your day. Start small, be consistent, and watch how Allah opens doors you never expected. Salam. May Allah bless our mornings, accept our efforts, and make our days full of barakah. Ameen. Fajr is not merely one of the 5 daily prayers. It is the spiritual foundation upon which the entire day is built. When a person responds to the call of Fajr, they are doing far more than fulfilling an obligation. They are training the soul to prioritize obedience over comfort and discipline over desire. Rising at a time when most of the world is asleep develops inner strength, self-control, and sincerity. This early act of worship sets the tone for the heart, reminding it that Allah is at the center of life, not convenience or routine. The period after Fajr carries a unique quality that cannot be replicated later in the day. It is a time of calm, clarity, and divine generosity. The mind is fresh, distractions are minimal, and the heart is more receptive. When this time is used intentionally, it nurtures spiritual awareness and mental focus. A person who begins their day in remembrance is less likely to be overwhelmed by stress, impatience, or negativity. Instead, they carry a sense of tranquility that influences their decisions and interactions for hours to come. Fajr also reshapes a person's relationship with time. Those who value the prayer begin to understand that success is not only about how many hours one has, but how those hours are blessed. Waking up early for the sake of Allah brings barakah into the day. Tasks seem easier, time feels more sufficient, and productivity improves naturally. This is not a coincidence. It is the result of aligning one's schedule with divine wisdom rather than personal convenience. From an educational perspective, Fajr teaches consistency and responsibility. Performing it daily builds discipline, which then transfers into other areas of life, such as work, study, and family duties. A person who can rise consistently for Fajr learns to manage sleep, plan ahead, and respect commitments. These habits are essential for personal development and long-term success. Spiritual discipline strengthens worldly discipline, proving that faith and productivity are not separate but deeply connected. The spiritual foundation established by Fajr also protects the heart from moral and emotional instability. Beginning the day with worship acts as a shield against arrogance, heedlessness, and impulsive behavior. When a person starts the morning acknowledging their dependence on Allah, they are reminded that power, provision, and outcomes are not in their control alone. This awareness fosters humility, patience, and gratitude, qualities that are essential for maintaining healthy relationships and ethical conduct throughout the day. Fajr has a profound impact on mental well-being. Many people struggle with anxiety and restlessness because their days begin in haste and distraction. In contrast, those who start with Fajr enter the day grounded and composed. The quiet moments of prayer allow the mind to slow down and the heart to reconnect with purpose. This spiritual grounding reduces emotional volatility and enhances resilience, enabling a person to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively to challenges. Another critical aspect of Fajr as a foundation is its role in identity formation. When someone consistently wakes for Fajr, they begin to see themselves as a disciplined believer rather than a passive follower. This self-perception influences choices, goals, and behavior. A strong identity rooted in worship encourages integrity, accountability, and self-respect. The person no longer measures success solely by worldly standards, but by their closeness to Allah and their adherence to values. Fajr also instills a sense of hope and renewal. Each morning is a fresh beginning, regardless of the mistakes of the previous day. Standing before Allah at dawn reinforces the understanding that mercy is always accessible and change is always possible. This mindset prevents despair and promotes continuous self-improvement. Instead of being trapped by past failures, the believer learns to move forward with optimism and determination. Ultimately, Fajr is the anchor that stabilizes the entire day. When it is observed with awareness and respect, it influences thoughts, actions, priorities, and intentions. The one who safeguards Fajr safeguards their spiritual compass. Through this single act of devotion, the heart is aligned, the mind is focused, and the soul is nourished, allowing the rest of the day to unfold with clarity, balance, and purpose. Small, consistent actions hold immense power in shaping a person's spiritual and worldly life. In the Islamic tradition, greatness is not always found in large, dramatic deeds, but in simple acts performed regularly with sincerity. When a believer commits to small righteous actions after Fajr, they invite blessings that extend far beyond what appears outwardly significant. These actions may seem minor, but their consistency builds a strong spiritual structure that supports faith, character, and daily stability. Consistency nurtures sincerity. When an action is small and manageable, it is easier to perform without seeking attention or praise. This protects the heart from showing off and keeps intentions pure. A few moments of remembrance, a short supplication, or a brief recitation of the Quran done daily trains the soul to remain connected to Allah without feeling overwhelmed. Over time, these consistent actions refine the heart, making worship feel natural rather than burdensome. One of the greatest blessings of consistent small deeds is the barakah they bring into time. Many people complain that their days pass quickly without accomplishment, even though they remain busy. Barakah is not about quantity of hours, but quality of effort. When a believer begins the day with a consistent act of obedience, Allah places ease and productivity into their schedule. Tasks that once felt heavy become lighter, and responsibilities are fulfilled with greater clarity and focus. These small actions also strengthen self-discipline. Waking up after Fajr to engage in remembrance or reflection requires effort, but not an overwhelming one. This manageable challenge builds confidence and reinforces the ability to maintain routines. Over time, this discipline spreads into other areas of life, such as maintaining prayers on time and fulfilling obligations. The person becomes more reliable, both spiritually and socially. Consistency after Fajr has a cumulative effect on spiritual awareness. Each small act adds a layer of consciousness of Allah throughout the day. A person who remembers Allah in the morning is more likely to remember Him when faced with temptation, stress, or decision making. This awareness acts as a moral compass, guiding behavior and preventing actions that could lead to regret or harm. Small actions also protect against burnout. Many people begin spiritual journeys with enthusiasm, attempting large changes all at once, only to feel exhausted and discouraged. Islam promotes balance and sustainability. A small, consistent routine after Fajr ensures steady growth without emotional or spiritual fatigue. This approach allows the believer to grow gradually, strengthening faith without pressure or guilt. Another important aspect of small, consistent deeds is their role in emotional stability. The calm repetition of beneficial actions creates a sense of security and order. Life is unpredictable, but consistency provides an anchor. Even on difficult days, maintaining a simple routine of worship after Fajr offers comfort and reassurance. This stability supports mental well-being and reduces feelings of chaos or overwhelm. These actions also cultivate gratitude. When a person consistently engages in small acts of worship, they become more aware of blessings that might otherwise be overlooked. Gratitude develops naturally through remembrance and reflection. A grateful heart is more content, less envious, and more resilient in the face of hardship. This internal peace is one of the most valuable forms of blessing. Small, consistent actions influence long-term character development. Daily repetition reinforces values such as patience, humility, and perseverance. These qualities shape a person's interactions, decisions, and reputation. Over time, others may notice increased calmness, reliability, and integrity, even if they are unaware of the spiritual routines behind them. This demonstrates how private acts of devotion can have visible positive outcomes. Ultimately, small, consistent actions after Fajr serve as seeds planted daily in the soul. Though each seed may appear insignificant, their collective growth transforms the heart and the life of the believer. Through sincerity, discipline, and steady commitment, these actions invite blessings in time, character, and spiritual depth, proving that lasting change is achieved not through intensity alone, but through faithful consistency. A balance between worship and daily life is a core principle of Islamic teaching, and the period after Fajr perfectly demonstrates this harmony. Islam does not promote isolation from worldly responsibilities, nor does it encourage spiritual neglect in the pursuit of material success. Instead, it teaches believers how to integrate devotion into daily routines so that faith enhances life rather than interrupts it. The actions taken after Fajr illustrate how worship can coexist naturally with preparation for the day ahead. When a person engages in worship after Fajr and then transitions into their daily tasks, they are practicing intentional balance. Worship at this time nurtures the soul, while planning and preparation address worldly needs. This balance prevents extremes, neglecting spiritual duties due to busyness, or ignoring responsibilities under the guise of devotion. Islam values both dimensions, recognizing that a healthy believer contributes positively to society while remaining spiritually grounded. This balance begins with understanding that worship is not limited to ritual acts alone. While prayer, remembrance, and recitation are essential, Islam broadens the definition of worship to include lawful work, caring for family, seeking knowledge, and serving others when done with the right intention. After Fajr, a believer who prepares for work or study with sincerity transforms these actions into acts of worship. This perspective removes the false divide between religious life and worldly life. A balanced approach after Fajr also develops time awareness, allocating moments for worship and moments for preparation teaches prioritization. Instead of rushing or delaying obligations, the believer learns to respect both spiritual and practical commitments. This structured approach reduces stress and improves efficiency. When time is used with purpose, there is less regret and more satisfaction at the end of the day. Maintaining balance protects against spiritual guilt and worldly and burnout. Some individuals feel guilty when focusing on work, while others feel distant from faith due to constant busyness. A well-balanced routine after Fajr eliminates this conflict. By starting the day with worship, the believer reassures the heart that Allah has not been forgotten. By then engaging in responsibilities, they fulfill their duty toward themselves and others. This harmony promotes emotional peace and self-acceptance. This balance also influences ethical behavior. A person who begins the day with remembrance is more conscious of honesty, fairness, and compassion in their dealings. Worship softens the heart, while daily responsibilities test character. When both are present, character is refined through action. Business transactions, professional conduct, and family interactions become opportunities to apply spiritual values in real-life situations. The educational value of this balance lies in habit formation. A routine that blends worship with practical action teaches adaptability and responsibility. Life constantly changes, but a balanced foundation allows a believer to adjust without losing direction. Whether facing success or difficulty, the person remains grounded because their identity is not tied solely to worldly outcomes or spiritual rituals. It's a consistent principle. Your balance after Fajr also strengthens family and social relationships. When a person nurtures their spiritual state early, they are more patient, attentive, and emotionally present with others. This improves communication. A spiritually nourished individual contributes positively to their environment, demonstrating that worship enhances character rather than isolating the believer from society. This balanced lifestyle counters the misconception that religiosity limits progress. On the contrary, it promotes discipline, clarity, and purpose. A believer who honors both worship and responsibility becomes a role model of stability. Their life reflects that faith is not an obstacle to success, but a framework that guides it. By maintaining balance between worship and daily life after Fajr, a believer aligns intention with action. The soul is nourished, the mind is prepared, and the body is engaged. This integrated approach ensures that spirituality supports productivity, and productivity reinforces spirituality, creating a harmonious rhythm that sustains growth, responsibility, and inner peace throughout the day. Intentional mornings shape intentional lives because the first conscious actions of the day influence thoughts, emotions, and behavior long after the sun has risen. When a person begins the day deliberately rather than reactively, they gain control over their direction. The time after Fajr offers a unique opportunity to align intention with purpose before the demands of the world begin to compete for attention. This early intentionality becomes a compass that guides choices throughout the day. An intentional morning begins with awareness. Instead of moving mechanically from sleep to activity, the believer pauses to recognize the value of the new day. This awareness encourages mindfulness and presence, allowing a person to act with clarity rather than haste. When mornings are rushed and unstructured, the day often unfolds with confusion and distraction. Intentionality after Fajr prevents this by establishing order and direction before external influences take over. Purposeful mornings also strengthen. When a believer consciously sets intentions after Fajr, they define the standards by which they will measure their actions. This internal commitment promotes self-discipline and ethical consistency. The person becomes more mindful of their behavior, speech, and decisions because they have already committed to a higher purpose at the start of the day. This reduces impulsive actions and increases thoughtful responses. Intentionality after Fajr nurtures emotional regulation. Many emotional reactions stem from unprepared minds facing unexpected pressures. A calm, reflective start allows the heart to settle before challenges arise. This emotional preparedness enhances patience and resilience. When difficulties occur, the person responds with composure rather than frustration, demonstrating the long-term impact of purposeful beginnings. A deliberate morning routine reinforces positive identity. Repeated intentional actions shape how a person sees themselves. Someone who begins each day with meaning views themselves as responsible, disciplined, and spiritually aware. This self-perception influences confidence and motivation. Over time, the person becomes less dependent on external validation and more anchored in internal values. Intentional mornings also enhance focus and productivity. When goals and priorities are clarified after Fajr, energy is directed efficiently. Instead of reacting to distractions, the person moves with purpose. This clarity reduces wasted time and increases effectiveness. Productivity becomes sustainable because it is driven by values rather than pressure. Purposeful beginnings cultivate long-term vision. A person who reflects after Fajr develops the habit of thinking beyond immediate gratification. This encourages goal setting and patience. Short-term challenges are viewed within a broader context, reducing discouragement. The believer learns to value steady progress over instant results, fostering perseverance. Intentional mornings also influence interpersonal conduct. A person who begins the day with clarity and purpose approaches others with kindness and respect. Emotional readiness improves listening, empathy, and communication. Relationships benefit when individuals are grounded and self-aware. This demonstrates how personal intentionality contributes to collective harmony. Consistency in intentional mornings strengthens resilience during hardship. When life becomes difficult, established routines provide stability. A person who has trained themselves to begin each day with purpose is better equipped to adapt to change. This resilience is not accidental. It is cultivated through daily intentional practice. Intentional mornings ultimately reinforce trust in Allah. By beginning the day with reliance and purpose, the believer acknowledges that outcomes are not entirely within human control. This trust reduces anxiety and promotes acceptance. The person strives with effort while maintaining peace with whatever unfolds. Through intentional mornings, life becomes less reactive and more meaningful. Each day is approached with clarity, discipline, and trust, allowing actions to align with values. This alignment transforms routine into purpose and effort into fulfillment, proving that the way a day begins often determines the quality of the life that follows.